like to call this meeting of the RTM Parks and Recreation Committee regular meeting to order, September 11th, and I think I'd be remiss if I didn't say maybe we should be quiet for just a minute in respect for the day. Thank you. Attendance. Sarah Baldwin has babies at home and no husband and no babysitter, so she's not here.
No husband at the moment.
At the moment.
She would want us to clarify.
Oh, sorry, yes.
She doesn't want us to
No one to relieve her.
Yeah. Patty's here, Diane's here, Cheryl's on the phone, she's here, Penny's here, Carrie had to do something tonight at the last minute. I'm here. Sue Ellen is in Colorado. Ken's here. No Andy yet. Sandy's here. Tony's here. No Alyssa yet. Susan's here. Mary's here. Bill's here. And no David. Okay. That's 11 of us, and that's a quorum. So we'll start this meeting. The third thing on our agenda is to review and vote on the Town Hall Employees Union contract, which everybody received, and as well as a synopsis, basically, of the contract from Kate Bush, which is very nice for her to turn that contract around really quickly since the selectmen only just voted on it. And I didn't receive any questions from anybody, so I will just go through the, you want to have a question? No. I'll just go through the highlights of it and very quickly, and then we can discuss or vote, right? So this union is for the town hall employees, which represents primarily the town hall and the police department, clerical and technical workers, excuse me, below the supervisor level, and Park and Rec has one member. Our vote will be a vote to not reject the contract. It's effective from July 1st, 24 through June 30th, 28 for both the town and the union. Wage increases are 3% for the first 2 years of the contract, 2.8% for the final 2 years. The employee health insurance premium cost share increases by 1% at the start of the next fiscal year, that's 7/1/25, and another 1% at the start of the third year, 7/1/27, and another 1% on the last day of the contract, 6/30/28. The most notable new provision in this contract is that as of 7/1/2026, all Town Hall Union employees will be limited to 5 weeks of vacation accrual carryover and cash out. Prior, it was 10 weeks.
10 days.
Excuse me, thank you. No.
I was like, I'm going there.
No. You're right. No, it's weeks. It says weeks.
10 weeks.
Yes,
Yeah,
it
it
was
is weeks.
It's weeks.
All right,
Yeah.
okay, sorry. Wow, I'm going over there. Jumping.
Okay. The new, defined contribution retirement plan, currently both the employee and the town contribute 5% of base salary into the plan. The new contract increases this mandatory contribution to 7%. Other major changes to the contract are in the areas of holiday bank, bereavement leave, and educational reimbursement.
Quick question.
Sure.
I was reading about the increase in their premium for the employee for medical. You said it increased 1%. The way it read was that it increased to 12% and then 13%. So was it
Yeah. It's by 1%.
I was reading it wrong.
Sorry.
I was going to ask why is it increased 12%? And then you just, I guess.
Yeah, it's by 1%.
So they're paying a total of 12%.
That's just been a.
Yeah, that's what they're at now, is 12, so then they go to 13.
Yeah. That's
That's
sort of
good.
that's sort of been what's been happening with all contracts.
Yeah.
Mostly there's nothing really new here. It's nothing surprising, so. I'll take a motion to, vote to not reject this contract.
Make a motion.
Second.
Susan and Patty, and all in favor? That's unanimous.
Cheryl?
Cheryl?
Oh, sorry.
Yes.
Sorry, Cheryl.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, let's, I don't know if this is gonna be a very long meeting, but let's have some updates for, our commission advisory committees and town committees and commissions that we follow. Monuments and ceremony.
Since their meeting was yesterday, the monuments and ceremonies, and they really do a lot of ceremonies, incidentally. They had Flag Day on June 14th and September 11th Memorial this morning over at Middlesex. And
Can I say something?
Yes.
It was really, it was great. It was just, I mean, to say great is kind of an odd way to describe it, but I think I've been almost every year, and this year they had some of the middle schoolers sing. Were you, were you there? I wasn't sure.
no, I couldn't make it this
Okay.
morning, but they were singing.
Yeah, they came
I
out,
was at
what
their
did they
meeting
sing?
yesterday.
Star Spangled Banner. And there were a lot of police, a lot of fire. It was somber, but yet John Zagrodzky did a very uplifting, his remarks were very uplifting.
There's
So.
some beautiful pictures on Facebook actually too. They're working now on the Veterans Day plans and no cemetery committee update, the person wasn't there. And then the Wreaths Across America, which we talked about last year. Apparently the one person who was in charge of Wreaths Across America here has moved to another town. And there were some disagreements, I think, between the people who were handling this. So it hasn't been turned over to anybody, but this committee is really not in charge of it. They cannot collect money. But they're gonna try to figure out what we can do. And, you know, basically, the wreath charge doesn't seem to be that much. They were thinking it was like $15.
That's what it is, yeah.
And we were short wreaths last year for the cemetery, so it would be nice, and I think, you know, they could stand out, or some of us, and I said I would do it one day, I would be glad to stand out inside one of the markets and ask for this.
Alan Bixler used to
Yeah.
do it well, and do it well. I think it would,
I would try to do it well too.
yeah, I know it, but I think they miss him.
Well, we,
When
oh,
he
I
does
had
it.
to do it with the DAR, but I learned from them that there's been a lot of political happenings
Yeah.
around the whole deal with the Wreaths of America, and they've been pushed out of the loop, and they're told, go away, so they're throwing their hands up too.
I guess when you buy a wreath, you can tell them where you want it to go to, what cemetery as well. And we were short on a lot of them here.
But that wasn't really the issue, I think it had something to do with,
It
the
is.
group that sells.
Yes.
I mean, that creates them for the whole Wreaths of America, and the owners of the
Was-
cemetery, or the managers of the cemetery.
Very
And
interesting.
sponsors or something, it was very,
I was
Not well.
at Bishop's Orchards last week, upstate a little bit, and every month they choose a different organization, and they ask you if you want to count up to the next dollar and donate, and it's different organizations, and it was Wreaths Across America. last week.
up in Guilford, they're
Yeah,
doing?
yeah.
That's nice. I mean, I have no doubt whoever sells them, if we wanted to sell them again, we would sell out. I mean, they're $15. I mean, it's
Right.
not the money, it has
Right.
nothing to do with the money, because they have more than enough in years past, but it has everything to do with whatever politically is going on with the organization.
And,
So
and
it's
as I
unfortunate.
said, this group supports it, but they cannot, you know, take charge of it because of they don't have the money.
Right.
I know you're not gonna really answer this question, but I'm gonna say it. John Zagrodzky mentioned putting together a group about the cemeteries and reviewing the cemeteries in town, and to make sure everything was, taken care of, and I just wonder if that, you haven't heard of anything
No.
about that happening yet?
I think the committee member who was to give an update was not there at the meeting, so there was no report on the cemeteries.
What kinds of things are they looking at in terms of?
Oh, I think he didn't want anything to be left behind, kind of.
It came up in the budget meeting.
Exactly, it
That's
was
what
in the,
we saw.
it was in the
Left
budget, and
behind.
he said that, you know,
Making
this
sure.
summer maybe we can, of course, he had a few other things to organize too, so I understand why it might not happen, but I don't want it to be forgotten, because it was a good idea.
It's the care of it, you know,
Just
the-
just to make sure they're taking care of, you know, grass cutting and then, you know, at one point they were looking at headstones and just making sure that things were not damaged.
Broken headstones, and
Yeah.
they're expensive to fix, and
Now, is that,
Get-
is that all on the town? All those things?
No, the town is don't quote me on this, the town is responsible for, there's more than you think there are, there are very small little ones scattered around.
Oh, yeah. I
The
know.
big one is not the town's.
You mean Spring Grove?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
That's
They have
what,
their
that's
own-
what I was
That's
talking about.
Connecticut, and
Except Spring Grove is basically, part of it is for the public and part of it was just for veterans. So
Right,
it's,
right.
so that may be managed differently. I don't know if the Spring Grove Association takes care of both, but, the big part of Spring Grove is taken care of privately. But there's
Right.
small little ones throughout town.
That,
Yeah.
yeah.
That need
I know
TLC.
those, yeah.
is the town responsible to take care of all these ones that are, say, 100, 200 years old? Or is
good
that?
I'm
question.
pretty sure they are.
Yeah.
I don't remember, but I'm
There's
pretty
been
sure.
a lot
they-
of private funding, like there's one on Weeds Landing that was, you know, they privately put together.
And they did some grants for it, But there's more than,
The Boy Scouts did
Boy
one,
Scouts did one,
the
right.
church, the Presbyterian did one, because it was, you know, the founders were also the founders of their own Presbyterian church. But I was always a little confused by who was actually responsible for them.
The problem is, sometimes property owners think that it's their property or parts of it because they happen to be adjacent to a small group of people that are buried, that maybe that's their property.
Right, that was the case on
And
Weeds
this is
Landing.
Serious
and
problem.
then sometimes to maintain, they have to go through somebody, they need an easement to get to people's private property, so it can be complicated, but, yes, so, but anyway, it's a noble thing, and I hope it happens.
I think all properties have to have access. You can't landlock a property and say that you can't have access to it.
I mean, I've listened to some of the meetings, the monuments and ceremonies, and the fellows that used to be in charge of it, and, you know, they're talking about, well, you know, a tree came down. So how do you get in there? And then you don't, hopefully this person says, okay, we can use their driveway, so we can, because they got a big piece of machinery in, so it can be complicated, yes. So anyway, now we know more about it, don't we? Thank you. Beautification.
So, they had a meeting today, that I, attended by Zoom, and I just kind of wrote something out quickly. Alicia Pepperone, who's vice chair of the commission, and Sarah Schwartz, who's chair, reported about a presentation they gave to the selectmen at the meeting of August 19th, which I think you flagged for me, thank you, to propose accepting anticipated donations from the community of up to $150,000 to fund the Beautification Commission's Adopt a Garden project, which has now been rechristened at their last meeting to be called Darien Blooms. And
Darien what?
Blooms, Darien
Blooms.
Blooms, yeah. Alicia reported that she talked to the selectmen about the background of the program, quotes for individual gardens, planting and maintenance for the next 3 years, outreach to other businesses, and sponsorship. And then concerns arose about the longevity of the project, as it would have to be managed and funded, and that it might need to be spearheaded as sort of a higher maintenance project. And sort of maintaining the gardens and other components related to this would be more of like a year-round project to oversee versus the hanging baskets as an example, which are sort of managed, over a shorter period of time and funded by the town. So the commission will have to review some more information with the first selectman, then we'll need to get the revised information in front of the Board of Selectmen, Board of Finance, and finally RTM before moving forward. And then they've also had some curbing done, and replaced at 7 locations of these, of the, small gardens, and so that apparently has made a huge difference, already, even though some of those aren't sort of maintained regularly, but it's just cleaned things up and made them look a lot better. And then there's also one vacancy on the commission in case anyone knows of somebody who might be interested in applying for that. So that was the update that I had.
I think they worked long and hard on trying to figure out how to do the adopt a garden
Yeah,
and make everything look good, and what they wanted to do was hire a company that would, take care of it and, water it and then it'd be uniform, it'd be for all of them, instead of sort of hodgepodge.
Mhm.
But that's the impetus, so,
yeah,
but they, so hopefully it happens, so if it does, we'll know.
Did they have the 150K, up to 150K already donated, or is there a plan to do the fundraising for that?
No, I think my understanding is they don't have that.
No, I think they're gonna do fundraising,
Yeah.
they're gonna do bricks.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
right,
exactly.
that's right.
And they've had interest, from people in town, who are reaching out already to them. But yeah, it would require a fair bit of fundraising. And also, you need somebody on the commission who has longevity to sort of see the project out.
Yeah.
And that's also maybe a bit of a concern, because I think some people, kind of shift off of the commission at a certain point, and then, you don't know who's gonna be.
It ebbs and flows, it
Yeah.
does.
How long has the present chair been on? Do you know?
Well, I don't know, I actually don't know that.
Because one of the previous chairs, because she lived in our district, District 1, she was on for a long time. She was on
Oh.
10+ years
Wow.
as the chair,
okay.
so that was longevity, and then maybe there was something shorter
Hmm.
since then.
Oh, right,
That's why I was
right.
just asking, I didn't know. who
Yeah,
the
no, that's a
person
good question, yeah. I think that was just something that had come up as, something might have been a concern, with the selectmen. So, yeah, but it is a good point. Maybe the new Beautification Commission member will, be somebody who wants to oversee it or stay
Periodic,
longer.
great.
or whatever,
Yeah.
So,
Thank you.
sure.
Coastal Waters?
They have a meeting this coming Monday, but there's no agenda out yet. So I'm not really sure. And actually, I can answer the question from Patty. I spoke to the current chair because I was helping her with some background for the
The
flags,
flags.
because I had been involved with that. And I wanna say she's only been, she's been on the commission a short time, and I think she's been the chair for a year or 2. So, she didn't have a lot, unfortunately, for some reason, a lot of notes weren't passed down, like about the flags and the whole process. These are the flags that go on the lampposts, so I had spoken to her about that. So she's fairly new. And I think one of the members has been there a fairly long time, but yeah, they've had a big turnover, so.
They really do a fine job, I mean, they put flowers in a lot of places that you don't pay any
Yes.
attention to that,
So
but they do
much
it.
live,
It's town- it's town work.
Stations and everything,
Yeah, they've been
it's
getting
lot
a
of work.
lot of good reactions to the work going on around town hall. I mean, they've been, the pollinator gardens, and they've been getting a lot of good feedback apparently, also about the baskets and various things. And they've got some new planters and, yeah, so they're
Enthusiastic.
making a lot of changes, it seems. Bringing things up.
Okay, invasives?
There has not been a meeting since the last time we updated.
Okay. Great Island, Sarah was gonna tell us about Great Island, but I'll tell you a little bit. I listened to their meeting on Monday. It was a solid 2 hours. Did you participate?
I watched it the next day. I watched the beginning, and the end, and I kind of glanced
It
through
was
it, so
Zoom.
I haven't
Yeah,
done the whole thing yet.
yeah, it was, yeah. Well, I advise anybody, watch it, because the information's in there about, the beginnings of what might be, of the process of deciding what to do, at Great Island, and then, how there are thoughts on how you come to conclusions on exactly what you think you should do. It was very logical, and I was, let me go through my notes, it'd be easier. Let's see, first of all, just the normal stuff, like there's the orchard redemption bids, which is they're gonna remove the dirt where the orchard was because it had the arsenic in it, and then plant it, so those bids are due in on the 19th. And there was a discussion about, right now it's for topsoil, seed and hay, but possibly some pollinator plants. We'll see how that goes, we don't know yet.
They're doing a full remediation?
Yeah, they're taking out an X amount of soil.
That's a lot of topsoil they're putting in there.
So, that's what the bids are for. And then, let's see, P&Z. Okay, yeah, P&Z, they get a decision on being able to do that work, I think, from P&Z. But it should have been last night, so I'm assuming that it went through. It sounded like it was going to. It's a tree hearing for the Great Island Access Road on September 12th for 23A. They'll have to take down some trees, so there's a hearing on that.
They're all marked too.
Are they?
Yeah. As you go in, they're all signs on every tree.
It's the ones on the left-hand side when you come in, because we have to widen it, so it's the ones on the left-hand side, but they are gonna be preserving for kind of right when you come around the bend. And then hopefully, I'm sure they'll be discussing some type of, or the Darien Land Trust or whomever will be talking to them about possibly trying to do a planting plan, not in the same place per se, but maybe throughout. Under the category, if you have to take down one. you
Yeah,
have to.
replace some trees, yeah,
So,
yeah.
we'll see.
So, the big day that's coming up is September 21st for the workshops. So that's really the kickoff for public input. Workshops in the morning, 10:15 to 12 at Town Hall. In the afternoon on Great Island, 1:30 to 4. And there'll be buses from Pear Tree. You need to sign up for those.
Yeah, I just did.
Good.
But they're probably gonna fill it.
But just to be clear, you only have to sign up for the buses.
Yeah, you can just go.
You
You
can
don't,
walk
if
in.
you, yeah, even if the buses are full, you can just walk in, there's no problem. No problem with that. Just kind of hoping that Sarah would come. So anyway, here we go. So at the meeting that Reed Hildebrand walked them through the thinking, as I said, on access, branding and logo, which is kind of an interesting thing, deciding on what the logo was gonna, watch this is a good one.
Logo.
If you, well, watch,
It's not exactly a brand.
well, for future, yeah.
But they're not selling anything. I mean, usually you do a logo if you're trying to.
We get participation, I think, people say, oh, that's gonna happen at Great
Maybe
Island.
a baseball, with a logo on a hat or something.
Yeah, well,
Okay, just seems
but
like
in-
a lot of
on
money
infra-
to invest in something that's not really
we've already,
necessary.
we've already paid the money, so. To let these people do their best. So anyway, they walked them through that, access, branding and logo, focused groups, outreach events and surveys, and what they're gonna be doing for that. But as I said, it was a 2-hour Zoom, and there's a lot of information in there. And there are lists in there of things that they think, that they've heard from people, what they might happen would like to happen on the island. And so it's time to pay attention, I think. There's also a pop-up polo event that's scheduled for October 26th, which is gonna be run by a Westport group. At no cost to the town. I guess there will be the same sort of buses, and there'll be pony rides for the kids.
Where's
on Great Island, on the, on the polo.
Just for the kids?
No, there's gonna be a polo match.
Ride a pony.
I don't know, they didn't say that. Face painting, maybe?
So I have a question though, they don't, I know currently there's no bathrooms, like you're not, how are they doing all this? Not, they're gonna have to bring in porta potties and stuff.
They have put a,
Oh, yeah.
I think they
Oh, there
discussed
is one.
I think
Yeah.
there's one there
I know.
now, but whether there are more, I think perhaps per events there are, you know, but anyway.
I think their goal was to try, well, there was a lot of discussion also about access before they went into the logo and all of that. And it seems like they keep hearing from the public that the public does want more access. And the concern is to keep everyone safe. And the other big concern that they discussed was if they allow people off the path and then down the road they feel there's some reason for them not to go into a certain area, they don't wanna pull back. I'm sure there's pros and cons to doing all of that. But this polo event is just another way to get people. I mean, I think there's I walk there a lot, I think there's a lot of people that do walk. It is a little frustrating not to be, I understand why we have to stay on the path, it is a little frustrating at times, because if they want us to see what we think could be there, it's hard to imagine what could be there if you can't physically go. So I think they are gonna try to do they're trying to do the bridle path, I guess.
I think it's soon.
That would be soon.
And just trying to, you know, they're trying to, and they were talking about the areas where they could expand, let people on
Yeah.
safely.
Yeah. So it sounded like this group out of Westport will bring in porta potty. All expenses will be paid by this one group. They're gonna have the horses are gonna get there a couple of days early. They're gonna have someone probably stay in the stables with the horses, and then bring in all different things. And I think their big concern also was, you know, getting people on and off safely, collecting garbage, you know, and they had a big discussion of if someone does go off the path, what happens. You know, you can't really prevent people, but there are a lot of cameras on the island. So they are watching, someone is watching, I don't know who they are, but someone is watching right now if you were to go off.
I have to tell you, I was walking there on Sunday and we came around to the big house. This whole family comes out and they're dressed, you know, beautifully. They were doing a photo shoot out on the lawn. They were just coming out around the barriers with their photographer and their whole family. They're all dressed in white and khakis, and I'm like, what part of do not enter do you not see? They were so bold as to bring their photographer out there and their whole family, and I'm like, I hope there's cameras. I mean, there's gotta be
There are
some. I mean, there's people living in that building on the two ends, so it's like, it's crazy. They're bold, let's do that way.
People are, but I think it's still no bicycles and no dogs.
Correct.
So, yeah. But they're trying to, anyway, we shall see, work in progress, but now it's time to, yeah, participate. Okay, so, what do I have for the chairman's report? Update from the commission, which mostly is from last July, because that's the last time they met. They meet next Wednesday. But it's been, you know, there's been sort of a pretty big change of the members of the commission. So I thought I would just list out who's on it now. Cindy Banks, who's new, Terry Bach, who's new, and then Lori Bora, Janet Kling, Amy Doring, Jim Farrell, Mary Louise Morgan, Chris Taylor, and Ed Wisheka, who from the RTM has moved on to the commission. And then Susan Daly ended her term at the end of July. So Ed Wisheka was elected secretary. And they did talk about pickleball a bit, but it's still in process. Cassie will be gathering tennis data, and there was mention again of the need of a traffic study. Cherry lawn. Playgrounds are open and very popular. I took some great pictures the first week I was here that it was open with all the kids on the, it's cool.
The musical elements on the little kids' playground are great. It's really wonderful.
I haven't tried those.
Yeah, and all the lower elements, you know, on the playground, the bigger playground are great too as well. You're gonna see, when you're at the park, it's packed.
Oh, I was gonna yeah.
Right, I mean, now that school has started, it's specific times, but particularly because the kindergartner is starting not till, you know, you're 5 years old or so, so. Everybody's using it, and it's, I mean, it is wonderful to see. There are some lots of, I know, the new Parks and Rec director was there a lot. I loved seeing her there a lot. She's kind of spot checking everything as it was getting started. And then just kind of keeping an eye on the amount of parking and safety and everything around going on. But the musical elements are the best, because we didn't, they really weren't there. They were at some of the other playgrounds, so it's beautiful to pull up and hear that. So.
What are the musicals?
Well, there's a little, like, I guess you call it like a xylophone, there's
Yeah,
another
right.
little ringing bell. It's just from like 3 or 4 different spots.
Yes.
And when you haven't had it there and then you have it, it just, it flows beautifully in the park, so.
There's a new water line to the gardens, which was installed, and which is separate from the irrigation line. The old one broke, I think. The pond looks great. So I asked, I got in touch with Jen Fava, just to find out exactly if they done, what they'd done to it, So anyway, here's what they did. The town received deep permits, so they've had 2 treatments for the duckweed in the pond, and 1 more treatment is expected. So it made a difference. At Tilly, the pond received a treatment for algae, and I think they think that'll hold it for this year, and anticipate a different treatment in the spring that will be proactive, so.
And then the 2 things that I'll say about that pond is they do have that big, huge dead tree that's at Cherry Lawn Pond that does need to come out. And dredging for that Cherry Lawn Pond is in a year from now
Yeah.
budget. And I think they were talking at the commission about, is there a possibility to prioritize that and move it up
They didn't
in some
discuss it, which
ways?
was nice to hear it discussed.
Because although it's clean now, everything is dead in there. So we don't want a dead pond. I mean, the Nature Center kids, do the tadpoles, they do the fishing. I see kids there all the time fishing. And so I'm just so happy that it's cleaned up now, because before when they were fishing, I would say, make sure you use Perel as soon as you go home and clean out. So it looks so much better. And the other thing was the aerator didn't always come up. That kind of needed to get spot checked as well. And so.
It seemed to be working better.
Yes, it now is working better, but the overall issue with the pond has to be addressed. We've dredged some of Tilly Pond before, and we've dredged other areas. We're gonna be dredging Gorham Pond, and so I'm glad that that's already in the capital budget. So we'll see where it goes from there, but
Exactly.
The area
We gotta
gets
get-
clogged or something, is that why it didn't come in?
I'm not an expert on it. I just would see that it would only come up a little bubble, and then come down, a little bubble, and down. And it is an aerator, so you also need sunshine, but it was even on sunny days. So I think with everything, maybe it did
There's
get
the
so
rubbish
clogged
in it.
because of the stuff that was in there. So, yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Probably
But she did a good job, so.
Yeah,
it was
and she's on top of it.
Mhm.
The ARPA funding, so the Baker Playground is on track, and I was checking, and about that as well, and so it should be set shortly. That's
Yeah.
what
They had a
the
meeting
director said.
Today, yesterday or today, but it wasn't, I looked right before we came to see if it was on, if I could get any update, but it hadn't been posted yet. They did that, so, but yeah, they're on track to lock it down before that money goes away.
They, over the summer, well, actually in August, I think, they moved some things out of ARPA that they weren't gonna have time to do before the time frame that you have to have it done by. The money's gotta be committed by the end of the year, according to ARPA. And then move some things in. And one of the things they moved in was a stand-on blower for the Park and Rec. So it's been bought. There you go. I know, some people, I think about David Martin when I think about the stand-on blower. It wasn't his favorite, but never mind.
But our guys do a
God
lot
bless
of
them.
work. They
I
have
know what
done
they
work
use
so
They get
much.
women really.
I don't know, but it just makes me
walking
smile,
lot,
because honestly.
We have so many fields to take care of, and it speeds it up so much.
Oh, yes.
So if you talk to them.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, Weed Beach Meadow and Trail, they're still working on the scenarios with Dan Biggs. They've had a couple of them, and they're still working on them to see where they go. So that's where that is. So Lori Bora, Jen Fava, and Dan Biggs are working at it. And then they're also been working with the neighbors and the Northern Bay Association on the planting plan, which still isn't set. They're still trying to coordinate with the neighbors. I think they were away in the summer, that slowed things down. Pear Tree Beach project. I'm sorry, Cheryl. This is not, as I was told by Lori, this is very frustrating, is what she said was, that it seems that the P&Z permits have expired. So they're going to have to go, yes, at least, and so they're in the process of meetings, trying to figure out a timeline for getting permits, just making sure they know exactly which permits they have to do, and so. And as I said, everybody is very frustrated, and so I think Jen and Dan were meeting with the P&Z chairman today to try to get that timeline sorted out. They were hoping to go to P&Z in October, but they cannot put together a bid package without the approvals. So it pushes off the shovel in the ground, so because you can't do that in the summer.
How long ago was this done?
Oh, golly, so don't,
Cheryl will tell you.
exactly.
She's choking
Sorry.
to tell us.
Sorry, Cheryl.
Cheryl, did you have something to say?
Yeah. I talked to Kate maybe in August, mid-August, and I asked her, sent her an email and asked her where Dan Briggs stood on all of this and the bid package, and she said to me then that the bid package probably wouldn't be ready until the end of October. And I said, disappointing. This has gone on so long, it's just disgraceful. I find it very disgraceful.
Right.
And to know that the permit was up and no one followed up on it to get an extension. Did they let it just run out and not file for an extension like other people do on P&Z?
I don't know.
I don't know. I haven't been in touch with Jeremy. I never thought about the P&Z. I was waiting for the bid package to get ready.
Well, I don't think that what she told you might not be inconsistent with what I just said.
Right.
I think that was what her best hope is, that by the end of October that they'll have the bid package, because they needed the approval. So we'll just keep poking at it. That's all we can do. I know, it's very, very frustrating.
Well, it's very disappointing when you sit and watch what's going on with Great Island. And here we have a beach that's fallen apart. That was a gift to the town. And now we have Great Island moving along. So, yeah, I'm not the only one that's disappointed. There are a lot of people down there this summer that have had a lot of points of view about the bathrooms, about the sand, the trees, the bees that they only put. Someone I know asked me about the bee containers in August, and I said, I have no idea. You'll have to call Park and Rec. And I believe they did, and they put one up at Pear Tree. One. So it's just getting to be very frustrating. Very frustrating.
Well, I will tell you that you're not alone with your frustration, and the Park and Rec department is very frustrated. I think that, our new director is she's hard at work, and actually Lori Barra is pretty frustrated too. So they're on our side. We just got to keep.
That's good to hear, and I can't wait to go to their meeting next week, hopefully.
Okay,
Can I ask
Susan?
a question? So who actually took out the permits from P&Z? Was it the Parks and Rec Commission, the Parks and Rec Department? Who?
I don't know that for sure. I would assume the department. Yes. And it doesn't, having to change it.
Right, no, it would explain it.
It's life,
Yeah.
exactly, yes. I think so. Anyway, I knew that wasn't gonna be great news here. Okay, programming, most of my information is from last July. They meet next week, I'm looking forward to some updates, but it sounded like the summer programs were going well at that time. The thing of note that they mentioned was that the daily beach permit dollars were up like 38% from the year before. So we had, and so people said, well, it went from approximately $18,000 from 13,000 to 18,000. So they speculated.
Daily parking, is that what you mean by daily beach?
Yeah.
Out
Yeah,
of
exactly.
town
They-
people
Pardon?
are out of town or not resident.
Exactly. And they just said, well, the weather had been better this year.
Or even people who just didn't ever decide to buy a permit and then maybe just came in one day and had to pay the full rent.
But they also had changed
Yeah.
their security company, so they expected that was
They were good.
Yeah.
The guy at
They
Pear
were-
Tree, awesome.
Pardon me?
The guy down
Yeah.
at Pear
At
Tree,
Pear
so
Tree,
good.
they were
So
night
good.
and day.
I'm sure they weren't perfect,
So
but
good.
it
But they
sounds
were
like they
really
were
good.
much
They were
more effective.
professional.
Yeah.
Yes, they were very good.
Really good.
That was a good change.
Yeah, the 6th paddle court is done and being used. And then a couple of random things. When I was talking to Lori, she was very proud of what the Park and Recs department helped with the Stanley Cup event last weekend.
Sounds good.
And she just said it was just so, they just did a great job, you know, and it wasn't really in their bailiwick, but they did it anyway. And there were a lot of people there, over 1,000 people, so.
Yeah, it was very well
The
done.
Spencer notes from.
And it was like,
I know that.
where was it at, like 8:30 in the morning? I was thinking, the picture they took of the boys hockey team, I thought was hysterical.
Yeah.
They all looked like they just rolled out of bed.
did.
I loved it, but it was great, you know,
Yeah.
saw it on Facebook, so kudos to that. Park and Rec has been added, you know, to have a representative on the town operations planning, OPC, Operations Planning Committee.
So will that be,
Lori, Lori will be the rep on that meeting, at that
oh,
meeting.
not the Parks and Rec director?
No.
No, it's all.
Okay.
There's
It's all commissioner, okay, got it.
It's head of all
Like
the
Steve O'Manion,
boards.
okay,
Yeah.
got it.
Yeah,
Okay,
exactly.
that makes sense.
Yes, it's a good thing, I think.
Yeah.
I think it's a very good thing. And then the date for the Fall Parks Tour has not been set yet, so it won't be in September, it'll probably be in October. They're still trying to find a meeting date. And that's all I have, so. Anybody have any other business? Oh, approval of minutes. Does anybody have any corrections to the minutes that we sent out?
This is just teeny tiny minor, unless you did for the reason, so you were using it as GIAC, but under your first big underlying discussion of consultant process, you have it at GAC, it's just missing the I twice in the
We
parentheses.
changed it,
Those are
but
minor, I didn't even want to say it because these are so thorough.
she changed it, but it must not have gone through.
On the
Yeah.
print, these are
Yeah.
fabulous, very,
All right, I'll double check.
very thorough, and in the way it's broken out too,
We're all
easy to read.
watching you.
Yeah, please do. I need it.
Better you than me.
You did a great job.
Yes, and easy to read in the format, thank you.
I'm just amazed at how fast you type.
I know.
It's you.
I can't type that fast.
Well, with that,
My hand's like.
with that correction, may I have a motion to approve the minutes of the 5th of June?
For Kim and Penny.
All in favor?
Aye.
That's unanimous. Thank you, thank you, thank you. There's a lot of information, and if I had done them, it would have been, hey, I would have done your minutes. Sandy, discussion.
We all had a good time, that's good.
That's the most important thing.
Discussion, vote.
Yeah.
Okay, now I'll take a motion to adjourn. Susan and Kim, all in favor?
Aye.
Cheryl?